Ready to uncover your dark side? Ready to look into that little locked box underneath your bed? Shadow work is not for the faint of heart. But you, my dear, do not have a faint heart. Otherwise, you would not be here. So I've put together 3 shadow work practices just for you to start reintegrating those dark parts and living a bigger, more beautiful, more true life. Welcome back, lovelies, or welcome if this is your first time here to Squeaky's Cauldron. I am, as always, your host, Sarah Evergreen. I am a coach specializing in shadow work, inner child work, boundaries, and deity work. Thank you for being here. This is, it's been a little while coming. I took a break for the Christmas holidays and getting my juju back in order, getting myself realigned. If you haven't already, do check out the previous video that I put out before the holidays that goes into the theories of shadow work, what it is, what the shadow is, why it works, what you can gain from it, and a few words of warning, which I will reiterate here. If you are about to embark on doing shadow work for the first time, I highly recommend that you find someone, either a coach, a therapist, or an extremely trusted friend who can hold that space with you as you process some things that come up that you might not be expecting. Just a brief recap of what the shadow is before we move on to the practices. C.G. Jung, the father of psychoanalysis, as many people call him, defines the shadow as the unconscious parts of the personality that do not correspond with the ego ideal. Essentially, it's the parts of yourself that clash with the story that you tell yourself about who you are and who you're supposed to be. For example, a story that I told myself for a long time was that I am sweet and I am kind. Now, there are many ways in which this is very true. I am sweet and I am kind. And at the same time, I can be a fucking bitch. And that has served me extremely well to be able to embrace that and bring that into my life in a way that is not in cognitive dissonance with the rest of myself. So this idea of I am sweet and I am kind ended up in manifesting in people-pleasing ways, in me shrinking myself in order to make other people feel comfortable. That's a huge one. Defining your life around what will make other people feel good. That is so incredibly limiting and also kind of fruitless. So when I was able to embrace the anger that this posture actually gave me and nurtured, because it wasn't the only thing that gave me anger, that's for sure. When I embraced that, I was able to, instead of having it jut out of me like these flames that would then burn the people around me and my life, I was able to kind of reintegrate that and bring it forward in a way that's really powerful. A sacred anger, a sacred rage, a way to express myself that is grounded very firmly in my values and my beliefs and my worth, really, is what it comes right down to. The worth of me as a whole. And this is what shadow work can do for you. The very first shadow work practice that I want to bring to you today is journaling. And it's not a very sexy practice, I completely understand. And it's also foundational. We come to shadow work not knowing what our shadow is. By its definition, it's unconscious. It's something that is acting within us that we have pushed away so well that it's disappeared except for the ways that it tries to make itself known. Again, check out the other video on the theories behind shadow work for more information on that. So with journaling, the goal here is to start uncovering those pieces. And a lot of this comes through in ways that we respond to other people or react to other people, really. So I've got a few prompts for you today to start your shadow work journal. All of these prompts I would recommend using multiple times because, like an onion, you will get further and further down. Use them every day for a week. Use them maybe once every full moon or just on a regular basis so that you can start to uncover bits and pieces. Because the thing that shows up here is actually being driven by something down here. But you have to go through each layer in order to get to that, generally speaking. Some things can speed that up, like working with plant medicine. However, we're just talking about journaling here, which is a far cry from working with ayahuasca. So these prompts that I want to bring to you today are: 1, if people found this out about me, I would be ruined. Yeah. If people found this out about me, I would be ruined. What is that thing? What is that deep, dark secret? What is that deep, dark shame that you're carrying? Now, I'll tell you a little story without details, but I had something that I'd been carrying around for decades. And over the last few months, I was able to speak this thing out loud to 2 people, 2 human beings, something that I had never told anyone before and had absolutely no intention of telling anyone. I was just going to keep it locked in my box forever. And I brought this out, and I was prepared to be ridiculed, to be shamed, to be shunned. And instead, what I was met with was acceptance and love. And I can tell you right now that the thing that you write down with this journal prompt, it's not as bad as you think it is. The next journal prompt I want you to work with is to list 3 things that you deeply dislike in other people. Okay, that felt good, right? That's fun. Let's do a little hate on other people. Okay, and then take those 3 things and write down how you embody each of those things in your life and how you interact with people. How does it come through in you? Because so often, the things that we really dislike about other people are things that we've shamed in ourselves. And there's a level of envy or jealousy that comes along with, oh, God, look at her in her short skirt. I really wish I had the courage to wear a skirt like that, or to be that comfortable in my body, even if I don't actually want to wear a skirt like that. That's where those things come from. It has nothing to do with that person. And then lastly, and this kind of piggybacks on the last one, I want you to think about and write down, where in your life have you been judgmental, manipulative, and deceitful? You're exploring this not to make yourself feel like shit. That's not the process that I'm looking at here. What I want you to do is recognize that these are things that you do because you're human, not because you're broken. These are things that you do that everyone does. To varying degrees, sure, but we are all in this together. And just because this shows up in your life doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a person. And seeing these places where you've been judgmental, where you've been deceitful, where you've been manipulative can help you start to find why I wanted to manipulate this person in this way. What did I think I was protecting myself from by doing this? Why did I make this lie? What, again, was I protecting myself from? Because really, it all comes back to that self-protection. We do so many things that feel not great because we're trying so hard to keep ourselves safe. I just recently put up a shadow work workbook for you. It's about 10 pages of different exercises and space for you to do different things and start to uncover your own shadow. And you can find that on my website at squeakiescauldron.com/moon pages. If you are already subscribed to the newsletter, just send me an email, let me know, and I can send you out the PDF. Also, if you are enjoying this video, please drop a like. It really helps the channel out, helps me out. Also, any comments here about where you have struggled with shadow work, where it's been really difficult for you, or places that you have found great expansion, like different practices that have worked really well for you. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. This is obviously a very near and dear subject to my heart, and one that I think that we can all benefit from. And if this is your first time here and you haven't subscribed yet, here is your opportunity. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you don't miss any future episodes. The next exercise I want to bring you is dismantling triggers in experiences. What this means is whenever you feel yourself triggered, activated, however you want to call it, I want you to start paying really close attention to it. So say you're going through your day and your boss says something in a cutting way, and you tense up, you pull back. Make a note of that. Anytime that you have a reaction that seems unequal to the thing that seemed to cause the reaction, that's when you're getting triggered. That's when your shadow is being like, what the fuck? And the way to get into those triggers and to start defusing them is first and foremost through awareness. For example, one of my big triggers has been being told who I am by someone else, even in a joke. And it can be something incredibly innocuous. So, for example, my boyfriend and I were talking, and he joked that I was a fan of a particular kind of band because of something that I'd said. And I'm not, and I got really upset at him saying that I was, even though it was supposed to be a joke. And the reason that that particular thing has coagulated in my life is because for a long time I had been told that I needed to show up in this particular way. And so there's a nerve there that's been rubbed raw. When you identify these things, it doesn't mean that it's just going to go away. It's like the rain. If you know that it's raining outside, that doesn't mean that you're not going to get wet just because you have knowledge of it. But it does give you a little bit of ability to plan ahead or negotiate with how you want to interact with that rain. Am I going to go out in a raincoat? Am I going to go out at all? And the same can be said for your triggers. You can start to negotiate with them. You can start to understand them more, and you can start to do the work of going deeper to find out where they come from. And here are a few questions that you can ask yourself to do exactly that. 1, how old do I feel when this thing comes up? This can be incredibly powerful so that you can focus in on where the wound initially happened. And then, what did you need in that moment? What did you need to hear? What did you need to have happen? And from whom? And then you can start giving yourself that. That's a process of reparenting. Being able to identify, okay, I needed to feel loved. I needed to feel accepted. I needed to get this kind of comfort. And then be able to offer it to yourself and be like, oh, yeah, babe, that hurts. Will help to defuse those triggers bit by bit. For me, like I said, what I needed was acceptance and love for who I am, not for who someone thinks I am. With my boyfriend, when we're joking around and this happens, I can take a step back and be like, okay, he might be telling me that I'm supposed to be this way so that this can be a fun interaction that we're having. But I know me, and I know that I'm not a fan of this band, and that's okay. I'm still worthy of love and fun and joyful interactions. And it sounds kind of silly, I think, when I say it out loud, but I reckon there's something in there that you can resonate with. Like, the thing about our shadows and our triggers is that they're often hit by something innocuous, something that just seems so trivial. And it is trivial. But the thing is, where that's coming from, the wound is not trivial. And oftentimes these things are triggered by things that aren't trivial as well. I 100% give space for that. And knowing 2, that a behavior can be harmful and should still be addressed, while also recognizing, okay, I was triggered and that hurt more than maybe it would have otherwise. Like, those two things have to be held as well. If you're interested in going deeper with shadow work, with inner child work, with boundaries, working with deities, particularly Lilith and Hecate, do check out my coaching offer in the show notes or the description below. You can schedule a free 20-minute discovery call today in order to kind of do a vibe check and see what I can bring to the table and how we might work together. The last practice I want to bring to you today is also in the Shadow Work workbook, which you can get by signing up to my newsletter at squeakiescauldron.com/moon pages. There's some really nice worksheets for you so that you don't have to invent the wheel for this particular exercise. This is the childhood inventory. Again, our shadows are generally created in our childhood, often before the age of 7 even. But throughout our childhood, up until generally the age of 20, 23 maybe, these are when we get those wounds that become bigger. These are when we start to repress parts of ourselves in order to make other people more comfortable or to get safety and acceptance from the people who are taking care of us, because that's super important. So what you'll do is you'll take a sheet of paper, draw a line across the middle, and then you'll make dots representing the ages from about the age of 2 to about the age of 20. And I say 2 because we generally don't remember earlier than that. If you do, feel free to, extend that timeline a bit. And then on the other side, everything above the line is going to be positive experiences going up in scale. And then below the line is negative experiences going down in scale. What I want you to do for each age is go through and just check in and see what you recall your general emotional state being at a particular age, and then plot that across the line. And then draw a line connecting all of the dots. And then from here, you're going to look at your lowest lows and your highest highs and try to remember what was going on around that time that may have instigated this feeling. And from there, you're going to take that information and start to mine it for possible places where your shadow came out. So if you've got a low here and it was after you weren't able to take music lessons anymore and that just kind of plunged you down, maybe someone said that you weren't good enough to, invest in those musical lessons. Or maybe you have a high here, and this is when you won at track, and then you learn that in order to be loved and have these kinds of accolades, you have to push your body really, really hard and train in this particular way. This is all, it's just gathering information about your shadow, where it's come from, and where you can start to reintegrate those parts of yourself that have been pushed away. So now you have 3 practices that can help you start to discover your shadow. If you haven't already, please do check out the video here that I made about shadow theory. It can be really helpful to understand the mechanics of what's going on behind the scenes and where you're kind of moving towards as you go through this journey, because it's not easy, but it's really, really fruitful. I love you, and until next time, as always, use your voice.